What is a community? How do you define a community? People talk about your neighbor. What is your neighbor? Is your neighbor the person that lives next door? Is your community the town you live in, the town where you buy your groceries? Is it the town you work? Is it your coworker next door? What is a community? How is that defined in today's world? Is it so simple as to say it's the person living next to you? Is that part of your community? Or is community a little bit more abstract? Is a community defined by the people you interact with, the people who support you, and the people who build you up? This weekend, I was able to experience a couple different communities myself, and they weren't necessarily the neighbor next door. It wasn't the pharmacist that's around the bend. It wasn't the local fire department in your town. This kind of transcends the boundaries of an actual roadmap. I was at Jeremy K. Wood's CD release party April 22nd. It was this past Friday night, and it was an Earth Day celebration, and it was a really, really cool event. Jeremy planted a tree. That was part of the event. That was one of the signature moments of his event, is because it was Earth Day, he wanted to plant a tree. And then it was an interesting event because he wasn't just releasing a CD, which you often see. People will have a release party at the Hard Rock Cafe, or they'll have a CD release party at Thunderbirds Cafe or Spirit in Lawrenceville. And those are good and well, and they're lots of fun, and I'm certainly not denigrating any of those events because there's a lot of good stuff going on at these events. But this was something special because he didn't just release a CD, but he actually recorded his next CD in front of a live audience. So that was really cool. So he was releasing his current CD while he was recording his next CD, which will be released at another party. And it was done, this party, at a venue in Glenshaw called Liveberg Studio. And I think Liveberg Studio symbolizes this community of musicians that exist here in Pittsburgh, and it was really a fascinating experience to see. I'm going to explain that in a minute, but welcome to River Talk on the River's Edge Radio Network. My name is Brian Crawford, Pittsburgh's moral compass, sitting behind the microphone in the glorious Millville Studios, a community of artists here in Millville, and lots of good stuff on the show today. We're going to talk about the music community and the comedy community with Jay here in a bit, but Liveberg Studio was almost a museum, and I don't want to say museum because it wasn't stuffy. Liveberg Studio isn't a venue like Altar Bar or Mr. Smalls or any of these other great venues that we have in Pittsburgh. Liveberg Studio is literally a house. It's a house that was turned into a recording studio. And where this event took place, where Jeremy performed, obviously the tree was planted outside, but where he performed his set and recorded his set was in the living room. He played in the living room, and it was a full setup. They had great audio equipment, they had great lighting and everything else, but it was recorded in the living room, and everybody sat around, all of his friends, they sat around on the floor, on the carpet in the living room, watching their friend perform on stage. The venue itself was riddled with artifacts of different local musicians, artifacts of musicians who were on our network. Brooke Annabelle, they had a poster of hers that was signed, she had signed. They had other artists that had their names inscribed on the walls. The Common Heart, I know I saw them on there. There was a Chrome Moses sticker there on our network. That was on in the kitchen. And everywhere, all you see is artifacts of local musicians, people who were part of this community, who were there, and they've had their fingers in Liveberg Studio in one way or another. And it was really a cool event. And maybe what was most fascinating about it overall is the people who were in attendance. Dawn Strange was there. I'm trying to think who else was there. TJ Connolly of Chrome Moses. There was Joanna Lowe, who is a great poet, who you can hear her often at the Ham Bones open mic night on Tuesdays down in Lawrenceville, across the river from us here at the Millvale Studios. But all of these people came. They all came to support Jeremy. People, I didn't even know that they knew each other, but they built this community. Don was telling me how he had some family members, his kids, who had been sick the week before, so he was already stretched thin. He was all over the place. Hell, I was starting a 48-hour awake stretch when I was there. These people were there. They didn't have to be there. They were there because they wanted to be there to support their friend, somebody who has connected a lot of these musicians through his work at Hambones and Mr. Smalls and things like that. And I thought it was really a very good example of the community of musicians in Pittsburgh and how a community can transcend the borders of Millvale or Lawrenceville or Arsenal or any of these cool places in Pittsburgh, and how the community is what you make of it. It's the people that you decide to bring in and the people that you decide to make part of your life's work and your project. And I thought that was very evident at both, especially at the CD release party in Glenshaw, but also at Heavy Metal Monessen, which we were at this weekend as well, where you could see different people, different metal musicians who were interacting and talking, and you knew that they knew each other and they were supporting each other, and they would go from stage to stage, help each other move their equipment. And it was just this sense of community and togetherness that I think is very cool here in the Pittsburgh area. In the podcast realm, the business that we dabble into, we're a radio network, but we put our shows on demand. It seems to be a very cooperative group. I've had people on from Epicast. I've had people on from Sorgatron Media. I've done some work with the Pittsburgh Podcast Network, and I have been on some of these other shows as well. I've been on Michael Sorg's Awesome Cast and Awesome Chat. The 27th coming up in a few days. It should be released, where I will be on Ian Insect, a show of the Epicast Network, their podcast network. And there seems to be this cooperation and this collaboration of different networks who, in the traditional sense, would be at each other's throat trying to steal the business from one another and take complete dominance over their market. But instead, in this online community, people are helping each other to build each other up and grow together. And I think it's kind of a unique thing. And especially with us being Pittsburgh's 24-hour local music station, I think it's reflective of what you see often in the music community. And we're going to talk to Jay a little bit later in today's program to talk about the comedy community. I'm interested to see if there are some similarities in the comedy community that there are in the music community. But this week we have some really, really interesting guests. We're going to talk to John McIntire of KDKA and talk about his work and how that has helped him connect to other people in the area and almost build a community there. We have Corey Perrotte, who is a voter in the Grammys. Really interesting guy. He actually recorded an album for Rusted Root. So he's going to be on. He has a vote in the Grammys. If you don't like what you saw in the Grammys, well, there you go. You can blame Corey Perrotte. But we have Jaye Cooper in studio, as always. We have Heather Nevills, our chief meteorologist here at the River's Edge Radio Network, and we have Tom behind the board, who always does a fantastic job. And we're going to talk about a traffic situation that really makes my skin crawl, kind of gets under my skin at the end of today's program when we end the show on a serious note. And I'm interested to see if any of you here in studio have experienced that same type of aggravation that I have. So lots of good stuff here today on the River's Edge Radio Network. But Heavy Metal Monessen, I want to bring on you, Tom. You were at Heavy Metal Monessen with me.
I was.
What a fantastic show.
Yeah,
that was really
great.
Were you there at any of the other Heavy Metal Monessens?
No, that was my first experience Heavy Metal Monessen.
It's a cool event because, again, this goes back to this community of loving the craft and loving art. Zach Fell, who is the station manager of WCAL, you can find that at 91.9 down in they're coming out of California, Pennsylvania, so you can catch that along 79 going down towards California. You can't really get it here in the city, but you can find them on TuneIn Radio, just like you can find the River's Edge. He's not making any money off of this, actually. They are at a complete loss. They don't make anything. So he loses money on the event. Jonathan Kilback of Only Flesh and the Existential Gentleman, who you can hear on riversedgepgh.com, he doesn't make any money off of this. I believe some of the bands may, maybe some of the high, like the top bands, but that would be about it. I know they paid Bethlehem last year. They were able to pay them and pay some of the bands, but they do it because they love the music. They do it for fun. And every year it has jumped leaps and bounds, and it was really a cool event. And the one band that really surprised me, and I don't want to say surprised me as them being good, because I knew they were a good band. I've seen them play before. But Only Flesh was like a fucking Vegas show.
It was.
It was insane. They had flames throwing. Like they're literally flicking sparks into the crowd. What? It was unbelievable.
It was like they lit steel wool on fire and attached it to a string and just like spun it around.
Literally spun it, and it was flying into the crowd. They had, and this is the one part that really surprised me. I knew that they did suspensions, and when I say suspension, it's not like a vest. Like they actually have hooks in their body that they have had put into their body, and they hang themselves from these hooks that have been put into their body. And I didn't think I would be able to watch that. I really didn't. But it wasn't as gruesome to see as I was thinking it would be. I was thinking I wouldn't be able to watch this, and I really didn't have a problem watching it at all.
Yeah, I was up close. I was taking video, which we may post to the River's Edge page. Because it's not my fiance was like, I don't want to see that. That's too graphic. And when you think of it, you think that there's going to be blood, and that somebody's going to get hurt, and it's going to look gross. And it wasn't really that bad, to be honest.
Sometimes there is blood though.
Yeah,
He actually is one of the band members. I think it's Rev. I could be wrong, but I think it's Rev, has actually crucified himself on stage. Like literal nails through the hand crucifixion.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't know why you would want to do that to yourself.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd want to do that. But the show on Saturday was not gruesome or graphic at all. It was very entertaining, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't going to make you sick to the stomach or anything.
Their music video will.
Their music video
video definitely will make you sick to the stomach.
Yeah.
I mean, it is fucking nasty, but I mean, that's their thing. I'm not putting them down. They have a fan base because of it, because they're doing something different, something that's unique. But Heavy Metal Monessen, even though, and this is one of the things I love about metal music, is it is very diverse, and Heavy Metal Monessen isn't necessarily so heavy as it is just a kind of a mixed bag of different types of metal genres and metal musicians, and I actually like that about it. I like the fact that it has that mixture to it. But really, it was just a fantastic event.
Yeah, it seemed like
so glad to be a part of it.
There was representation from every end of the spectrum on metal. You had like the super hardcore heavy bands like Tartarus, all the way down to like the more hard rock and heavy bands like Solar Burn. So it was a really nice mix of music, and it was really just an awesome day.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So I really enjoyed that, and I'm just hoping they bring the Women of Metal Festival back to Pittsburgh. Have you ever seen that?
I have not.
Yeah, there's a Women of Metal Fest. It used to be in Pittsburgh. I believe they moved it out of state for some reason. I'm hoping they bring it back, but that's really cool. It's all female-fronted metal bands.
That's awesome.
And really a very cool event. I've seen it a couple of times. My friends from Leisure Stark were involved in the last one. The last one was at the, I believe, the Rex Theater in the South Side. I always enjoyed it when it was here at Mr. Small's. But it was cool at the Rex too. It was really an interesting event, and you get people like Leisure Stark was there, Lady Beast, a lot of really good, well-known female-fronted metal bands, and it was kind of cool to see that take off, because there are more female-fronted metal bands than people realize.
Yep.
And I think it's interesting to see them highlighted.
I've heard a rumor that the heavy metal women are hot.
Some of them are.
So that's true.
Yes, okay. I would say that's true.
Yeah.
Because they're kind of badasses. You know what I mean?
I kind of like women like that. Shaved heads, tattoos, piercings in places you never thought it would be at and stuff.
Exactly.
It's interesting. You have to check them out.
When I first heard Tartarus's music, I thought it was a male-fronted band. I had no idea. But, their singer's female, their bass player's female. And I was like, okay, this is new. I didn't know. You like because you can't tell when listening to their music because she has such an aggressive, ridiculous voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Up next, we're going to bring in Mr. Mike McMullen, our political commentator. He's going to talk about the upcoming primary election here on the River's Edge.
Hi, I'm Zaheen Hussein, Millvale Sustainability Coordinator, inviting you to grow your garden at Millvale May Days. Visit our town, catch the great deals at local businesses, win prizes, and collect all kinds of seed to grow your garden for free. Mark your calendar for May 6th and 7th here in Millvale. Follow the Business Association of Millvale on Facebook and Twitter at BAM15209 for more details.
Welcome back. We have Mike with a political update. It's kind of a big week for politics in Pennsylvania, right, Mike?
Well, Brian, we've got less than 48 hours to go till the primary, first time on the Republican side since 1980. Our actual primary is going to have a say. But I don't know how much of a say it's going to be. Only two major statewide races. Well, actually three. You have all the delegate races. You have the Attorney General and the presidential race. But I hate to dampen anybody's spirits. Trump was up anywhere between, depending on the polls. I saw a poll the last 48 hours. He's up at 49%. Kasich and Cruz are jockeying for second. It'll be interesting. It is what it is. Trump's going to win the state, and it's a matter of time. I mean, could he get to 1237 before the convention? I think he might. On the Democratic side, you've got Hillary's going to run away with it. She's going to beat Bernie probably by 15 to 20 points. Then we have the U.S. Senate candidate races on the Democratic side. And, Sestak's still in the lead, but McGinty, it's going to be close. It's within the margin of error right now. Then you have the Democratic AG's race, Morganelli from Northampton County, Shapiro from Montgomery County, and Sapala from Allegheny. And, looks like the polls I've seen, Shapiro's up, but, it's all about turnout. And, locally, you have all the delegate races here and, in the 12th Congressional, the 18th, and a lot of people are running as committed delegates, or myself included in the 12th Congressional, voting the will of the people, or, people are Trump delegates. But at the end of the day, it comes down to name, ID, and who wants it bad enough. And, we live in interesting times, and we will see what happens. I mean, I think there's going to be a record turnout on both sides of the aisle on Tuesday, maybe 60, 70%, who knows.
John Kasich, he claims that he can beat Hillary. He's the only one who can win. How can you make a claim like that if you can't even win the state you grew up in?
Well, look, I mean, he's having a town hall meeting tomorrow night at the Keys Rocks, like at 7 o'clock. Cruz had a rally yesterday out at Gateway High School. Let's see. Barely 800 people. Trump had one 2 weeks ago. Actually, had two in less than an hour from each other. 2,000 one venue, over 8,000 other, and Cruz only has 800. Go figure. Look, they're probably the rules committee met this last week in South Florida. They decided not to change the rules. Now, could they make the rules before the convention? Yes, they could. But the point is, Rule 40B, meaning you have to win 8 states in order to be nominated. Oh, that's right. Kasich only won 1. Yeah. So he doesn't have a chance in hell. So let's move on. He's a moot point. He's a moot point. He would do well against Hillary, but I think he needs to be on the ticket as a VP. He claims he doesn't want to be, but if you, I, or anybody, in the recording studio were offered the VP, you're going to take it.
Well, what else is he going to say? I'm running for president, but I don't really want to be president. You know what I mean? You're just not going to say that to the media.
Well, correct. If anybody's offered VP, you're going to run with it. If Rick Santorum was offered the VP, he would jump. He would jump at it. Anybody.
Exactly. So, what else is going on the local scene? Anything else that's pertinent?
Well, really, Brian, I just can't stress enough the delegate races. There are more delegate races, like up in PA 3 in the 3rd Congressional District, Mike Kelly's district, which runs from Butler all the way to Erie. There's like 12 running for delegate. Where I'm at here in the North Hills, in the 12th Congressional District, from Beaver to Johnstown to Cambria County, there's 12 running. In the 18th congressional district, there's 11 running for 3 spots. I mean, it's about name ID, name ID, and people are saying, like for example, Cruz put out, a couple mailers this week. These are identified Cruz delegates and so forth. At the end of the day, people are going to vote with, who they're familiar with, and or who's had voter contact with them. I mean, it is luck of the draw. It really is. I mean, like up in PA3, you have former Congressman Phil English running. Well, he's going to win because he's got name ID. You have State Representative Darrell Metcalf running, and you have State Representative Brian Ellis running. Those probably 3 are going to be elected because they have the highest name ID. Where I'm running at in the 12th congressional, there's a bunch of nobodies running, which is good.
Yeah, Darrell Metcalf. They've been going after him hard, haven't they?
Well, he's got a primary, Gordon Marburger. If you ever go to any local supermarket, Giant Eagle, Get-Go, or you pick up a gallon of milk, now let's see, Marburger Dairy, Gordon Marburger, put 2 and 2 together. They own it. So, it'll be interesting. I mean, with record high turnout, we'll see what Metcalf's going to have, and he may eke it out, but back 2 years ago, Gordon did a write-in campaign and lost by less than 500 votes. So, he may not make the same mistake again. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Hillary Clinton recently ate a Permane sandwich, and she claims to have liked it. Is that going to sway your opinion in her favor, Mike?
Hell no. Let her go to Philadelphia. Let her eat a damn cheesesteak sandwich, because Permane's, it's an embarrassment, that she ate a Permane sandwich. So let her go to Philly. Let her go to Geno's. Let her eat one of those damn cheesesteaks, and we'll go from there.
All right, Mike. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Have a good week.
You too. Heather, what's the weather today?
The weather today, Monday.
Yes.
It's going to be fantastic.
Good day. Already started out good. It's nice outside. Right?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's going to feel like summer. So, I mean, a little cool to begin with in the morning, but we're going to ramp that temperature right up there into the 80s. We're going to have lower 80 temperatures. So... but will that weather stay? That's the big question.
We're going to find that out a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Weird news. I couldn't find much information on this, but I thought it was interesting. Did you see that there was a school bus that collided into a house? Like, it literally crashed into a house. Did you see that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, there's an actual video.
Oh,
it's crazy. Like, some school bus, somehow it actually... went completely into a house that looks like an accordion. We'll have to post the video. There's a video online. I don't know if I can find this or not, but this video, it's really interesting. This school bus. Let me see. I got find my name here. We're running on the seat, flying on the seat of our pants between heavy metal Monessen and everything else. It's just been kind of a whirlwind. Yesterday I was up.
Content.
Yeah, well, no, not even a whirlwind of content. Just a whirlwind of no sleep and activity and all of that good stuff. But
Brian's forgotten what sleep is.
Yeah, I was up the other day for 38, 39 hours, somewhere in that range.
Yep.
It was crazy. So, you'll see here, like, the school bus actually, it goes up over the sidewalk and through the yard. It wasn't like, my house. Like, I live on a street. You don't need to know. I live on a street in Millville. There's no yard. There's just the sidewalk. So it would make sense if somebody was that drunk and they kind of veered off. Because I'm sure there's some drunk school bus drivers. I mean, you got to be a little tipsy to deal with some of those little bastards. But it would be understandable almost if somebody wrecked into my house. But to go over the sidewalk, through a yard, and then hit a house in a school bus...
I'd like to see them try to hit one of the houses that I'm looking at right now. They're all located on a hill.
This guy, look at the picture.
That would be some skill, skill.
If anybody could do it, this guy could do it. This guy could do it. We'll post this on our Facebook page, the video of this school bus.
Man.
But yeah, I mean, if anybody could do it, this guy could do it. You have no icy roads to blame. You have no excuses. He actually manages to bypass a tree on his way to this house.
That was lucky.
On the right. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if this happened on Earth Day, so maybe he he was a tree hugger. Wanted to save the tree.
Save the trees.
It's possible. It's possible. I don't know.
Apparently he hates houses, though, so it's like, crash into a house.
Yeah, but people were there, and people were assholes.
People are assholes.
People are assholes. That's my thing. It's like
a general consensus.
I mean, it's true. That's why people like dogs. That's why people like dogs better than people, because dogs are nice to you. Yes. They just want their bellies rubbed or petted on the head or a nice treat. People are douchebags.
They don't care about drama or what the people next door are doing or what's going on with that guy with the weird hair on TV who's trying to run for president.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. That's
not naming any names there.
Corey Perrotte is going to be in the second hour of today's program. He's actually a voter in the Grammys. He's also a local record producer here in the Pittsburgh area. That's going to be good stuff. But up next, we're going to bring in John McIntire. More political talk about we're going to talk about his event called Generational Politics, These Kids Today. It's a comedy show. John McIntire is a great political mind in the Pittsburgh area. He adds comedy to his politics, so it's going to be a good time. So that's up next. And again, Corey Perrotte at the in the second hour of today's show. I'm Brian Crawford, Heather Nevills. You're listening to the River's Edge Radio Network.
Hi, I'm Tom, and I know money.
And I'm Matt, and I know funny.
Catch us Thursday mornings at 7 a.m. Real financial information
for the regular guy.
Right here at riversedgepgh.com.
Your voice for local music.
Welcome back to the River's Edge Radio Network. Across the table, we have Mr. John McIntire of KDKA Radio. Also, you do stand-up. You kind of got a mixed bag of different things that you do.
Yeah, I came to town in 1996 to do a TV show called Night Talk on the Pittsburgh Cable News Channel, which I think has been off the air for years now. I don't know whatever happened to it. Mm-hmm. Actually, I think it's still on, but I'm sure nobody watches. Do I sound bitter? And ended up evolving into radio, and we ended up doing stand-up because people like one of your guests, Matt Wolforth, and Jimmy Crenn was like, you ought to give it a shot. And it still scares me to death, and I'm still not as good as I want to be, but it's the most interesting and challenging thing that I do. So,
is that almost frightening next to radio, where radio you're kind of hidden? Because I feel like to do stand-up, it's hit or miss. Somebody could hear it and not get what you're trying to do, and I feel like that would almost be terrorizing versus the radio. You get reaction, but it's not like you're seeing the look in someone's eyes, or
you have no idea whether you're dying, which is great.
Yes,
you
exactly.
said something you think is funny, and maybe your producer laughs, and you're like, "I'm so funny."
Yeah, exactly.
And everybody at home could be rolling their eyes, but you don't suffer the embarrassment. So yeah, big advantage in radio.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And you have a very cool event going up. You all, obviously on your show you do talk about politics a lot of times, and I always enjoy your show. I enjoy your impersonations. I know you do some stuff with that, right?
Yeah, we do all the obvious cheesy ones.
Yeah, I always enjoy that.
Did you hear him the other day? He's like, "Hey, you Negroes, sit down and eat your watermelon." Oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. That's not going to be good.
What's your favorite impersonation?
I'm still working on the Bernie Sanders. I was doing it the other day, and somebody said, "Is that Regis Philbin?" I'm like, "No, but they're two New York Jews, so maybe it is. I don't even know." And I feel sorry for Hillary Clinton because he's a better public speaker, and that's ridiculous because he's not a particularly good public speaker.
Yes.
He's just like Grandpa who's pissed off that somebody ate the last piece of pie. Who ate the last piece of pie? A millionaire or a billionaire?
Yeah,
that's all I got. You can stop pretending to laugh now.
No, I love the impersonations because I always listen because I'm a big talk radio person, and that's actually it's funny the radio industry. They moved into such a direction where it's this, you know how it is. It's the same song every time, and I got sick of listening to it, so I got into talk radio. So that's all I listen to. So I catch you all the time on KDKA flipping. I listen to all sorts of things in the evening, and I always enjoyed the impersonations. I think that really adds to the show. It's great. And is that what kind of drove you to stand up? Was it somebody hearing the impersonations and that being humorous?
Crenn, I remember on one episode of Night Talk was doing Ted Kennedy. I'll be a Ted Kennedy, you be Clinton. And so we're doing back and forth with that. And he just said you ought to give it a shot. I think you could do it.
Yeah.
And I still fail miserably occasionally. I definitely failed miserably a lot early. But everybody tells me that's normal and that's what happens. And,
sure, yeah.
And I had no perspective because I would open for Crenn and there'd be 200 people in the audience. I do 5 minutes and get some laughs. I think I'm pretty good at this. Look at all these people. When I started doing my own, there was like 3 people. And I thought, oh, they were all there to see Kren. What am I thinking? Of course they were.
Yeah, I
got spoiled by performing in front of large audiences, but I didn't have the experience to deserve it, essentially. So.
But in a way, doesn't that kind of help build yourself up because you've had that experience in front of a large...
Right, it built my confidence, and then when I began failing miserably, it destroyed it. But that's the whole process apparently you're supposed to go through.
Yeah, no, I understand, and it's kind of it's an interesting game to play. I know sometimes I try to pull that off with this show. I bring people in so that way I can try bring an audience in and try and hook people that way. They come in to hear my interview with you, for example, but then they listen to me, bitch at the end of the program about the my serious note where I always take a small subject and kind of blow it out of proportion, but you kind of hook people with guests or hook people with Jim Kren, and then maybe they hear you and they kind of...
Yeah, and another challenge I still face now is I've been performing for many years with Gab Bonesso, much younger, on the cusp millennial, hysterical, never fails, the funniest comedian I've seen in town.
She's great, yeah.
And then the old guy gets up there, and people are kind of wondering, what's this guy doing there? If it's her show at the Brillo Box, and they're all millennial hipsters, they're like, Grandpa, what the fuck? And... I now know why Chris Rock and Jerry Seinfeld and other people say they don't want to do colleges anymore, because there does seem to be an element of ageism, either that or I'm just an asshole. I can't figure out one of the two. But I'm working on it. But even that's an interesting challenge. How I'm going to make these fucking kids who are looking at me like, what are you doing here, laugh? Can I do it? So, and actually we have a show this coming Tuesday, her show, free political show on primary night. So we're going to obsess on politics at the Brillo Box at 8 o'clock.
I got to write that down, Brillo Box 8. Yeah, that would be cool. She is hilarious, and one thing I will say, it's funny because I had Josh Verbanitz, who is her partner on their kids program.
Right, the anti-bully crusade, stand-up comedy and music, very good, awesome stuff.
It is, and it's funny because I had him on the show, and we were talking about the Strip District Music Festival, and that just kind of came up in conversation. So I decided to look myself just to see, well, what are they doing? And they had a video online, and I'm laughing. I'm thinking, this is a kids program. Usually, kids programs are very...
Yeah, I remember when they were...
almost creepy in a way. Kids programs are very creepy.
I know. Do you know why Mr. McFeely doesn't have his own kids spin-off show? It's because his name is Mr. McFeely.
Yes.
But I remember when they were making the pilot, and Gab was obsessing on how to try to make it funny for adults too, but mostly aim it at kids. Maybe a little Pee Wee Herman, a little bit of Mr. Rogers, and I love that pilot. I think it turned out well. So
I think so. Yeah, definitely. So you got her involved, and obviously, I'm assuming you know her through the comedy side of what you do, correct?
We met originally when a good friend of mine was sick and tired of the same guests I was having on the radio.
Okay.
And there was an article about Gab in the newspaper. And funny comedian making kids laugh. So booked her then, and then we started working together a lot. She started booking me, and I started booking her for this Dangerously Live comedy talk show, which we obsess on politics. And we actually had a radio show for a little while together in a failed CBS experiment called The Zone, the Man Station. Just ridiculous idea for a ridiculous concept as a marketing thing. And it failed in 6 months, but we did a lot of sketch comedy and had a lot of fun. Yeah, she's awesome. She's the most talented performer I know in the town. So.
And you're kind of in a good position, being that you do both comedy and radio, because I look at the panel that you have coming up, and the event is called Kids Today, a comedy show, Generational Politics, and it's going to be at the Oaks Theater. And looking at the cast of people you have obviously you said Chelsea Wagner's there.
The Allegheny County Controller.
Rob Rogers, who's the cartoonist, political cartoonist
for the Post-Gazette.
For the Post-Gazette. And I think you're in a position, being that you do both comedy and radio, you can kind of bring people in from multiple spectrums. You can bring people in from the media, such as Rob Rogers, but then you can also grab people like Gab and bring her in as well.
Yeah, it's fun getting people who are normally just sort of stiff, uptight suits because that's their job.
Yes.
And then letting them be funny. Mayor Bill Peduto's done this show many times. Arlen Spector never did the show, but he was an hysterical ham on the old Night Talk show. We've had the mayor of Braddock, John Fetterman, on several times. Dr. Cyril Wecht in his 80s now, and just hysterical, and he spends all day cutting up body parts and looking at dead people's brains, and then he has a couple beers and comes on and does the show. He's nice. Hysterical. We've had quite a few people you wouldn't necessarily expect to be funny. Rick Seaback from QED, you're right. So mostly it's from media and politics, and I met all these people through doing the original TV show, and sort of a more stiff, straight format, doing regular news, but they love the opportunity to ham it up.
And I think it's kind of a good experience for them and a good opportunity because people don't get to see them as people. And you may look at, for example, with Chelsea Wagner, she had that big dispute with with
Rich Fitzgerald.
Yes, exactly, with Rich Fitzgerald. So people have an opinion one way or the other on her based on that situation, and I think this kind of creates an opportunity for her to maybe allow people to meet her as a person. Because I look at the president, for example. A lot of people don't like his policies, but whether you like his policies or not, he's a funny guy. He makes good jokes.
Hysterical,
He's cool. He brews beer in the White House. There's things about the president, whether you like him or not, you can't refute the fact that it's awesome that he brews beer in the White House. I mean, that's cool.
Definitely.
You can't tell me that's not cool. And I'm not somebody who's a big supporter of a lot of his politics, but I can go through and I could say, he's funny, he makes good jokes. People are so bitter nowadays, but I think events like this allow people to kind of get out of that shell of that narrow-minded view.
Mayor Peduto really likes to let loose, and we were discussing a big mistake I made a long time ago. He said that it was a roast, or some of his staff said it was a roast of Bill Peduto. So I went there armed with dirty roast jokes. Hey, remember when you dated that bipolar chick who kept fucking leaving you and going for the other guy and blah, 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 which was a true story. And his mother was there. And some woman who lived across the street who raised him since he was a kid was there. And nobody, it wasn't a roast.
So it was a very,
But during the last Dangerously Live comedy talk show, he got to say, this fucking jackass over here, and tell the story. And it sort of vented and, and that was, I don't know, it
that's
hilarious. Pretty funny. It was.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, Bill's funny.
So tell me a little bit about the event, about generational politics, these kids today. What can we expect? What are the topics that you're going to bring up? And how does this format work? Is it a situation where different people come up at different times, or is it almost like a roundtable discussion where you're all sitting on stage and it's funny, but it's almost like I don't want to say a panel where it's that formal, but is it something where everybody's on stage together?
I do stand-up, and then I bring out a panelist. So for this show, it'll probably be Chelsea first. Mm-hmm. Then Gab will do stand-up. Okay. Then she becomes a panelist. Then they both disappear. Then Rob Rogers will show his cartoons, and then I'll bring them all up on stage. So basically, I milk them one-on-one just to have the appearance of 4 or 5 different segments, and then I milk them all as a group.
Yeah, no, that sounds cool.
And if it's going well, I keep the group going forever, and if it's starting to suck, we just kill it, and we've probably killed an hour and a half by then anyway. So
yeah. John McIntire of KDKA.
And by the way, the Oaks Theater is where that we're doing this in Oakmont, which I only started doing like a year ago. We were always doing the Cabaret Theater downtown, and I've done the Arcade Theater a couple times, which is also way cool.
Yeah, that's a cool venue, yeah.
But theoakstheater.com is the website. But it's a restored old theater. They have a great bar. They even got decent food.
It's beautiful. It's huge.
You've been there?
Yeah, I've been there, yeah.
No, it's great that it's huge, and it kind of sucks because you can get 100 people, and it still looks empty because it holds 300.
We were there for this event, and it was a black comedy. They advertised themselves as a black comedy event, and the guys were hilarious. And it looked like a ghost town. And, if you think about it, they probably had... It really wasn't well attended, but they probably did have at least 50 or more people.
I've had those at that, 50 or 60. Yeah. And then half of them sit at the tabletop.
And that's where we were.
Right. And half of them are right down in front. So it's almost like some weird divided community.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt bad because it looked like no one was there. It would look like we looked like a packed room compared to, it was... and I felt bad because they were great, and the one guy, he really took advantage of it because he had the mic, and a wireless mic, like we have a wireless short here, and he just walked up to the tables and he's talking to people at their seats, and he's able to get the crowd in that way, and it was cool. But you're right, it's a beautiful venue. It is huge. It may be the besides like the Benedum or something, it may be one of the larger traditional
probably
movie type theaters in Pittsburgh.
And we get a lot of walk up traffic from people who never want to leave Oakmont. There's no truer stereotype on earth than people do not want to cross a bridge or a tunnel.
Oh, it's terrible. I'm guilty of that. The other day, I wanted to go out because I work overnight. I work 11 to 7:30 in the morning, and I wanted to go out to eat breakfast.
You work 11 to 7:30 in the morning? Jesus.
11 p.m. to 7:30 in the morning. I'll tell you off air.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
But
male prostitution's much more difficult these days.
It is.
The shitty economy.
Yeah, things are rough. So... But I wanted to go out and get a drink with my breakfast. And there's nothing on the north side of town where you can go out and get a drink with your breakfast. And I'm thinking, I'll be damned if I drive to the south side of town and get a drink with my breakfast. And really, what is it, 10 minutes, 15-minute drive? But,
There's an alley right behind the Park House on East Ohio Street where a few guys are drinking if that happens again to you.
There we go.
I mean, just
Yeah,
casually, but.
But no, it's just, it's funny. It's so true. I don't leave Millville. I'm kind of fortunate. We have 2 breweries that I can walk to here in Millville.
Yeah, this is a cool place.
Yeah, because heaven forbid I walk across a bridge, it's a very true statement. But yeah, it's I'm excited for this event, and I think.
Yeah, this is a really good cast. I mean, we've had assembled a lot of good crews before, but this is particularly good, I think.
And I think it's a good timing too, especially with Pennsylvania finally being
3 days
relevant
after the primary, right?
Yeah, and finally a relevant primary for
right.
We had when President Obama was in the race against Hillary Clinton, we at least had a primary on the Democratic side that was contested and actually mattered. But this is the first time in my lifetime I can think of where both the Republican primary and the Democratic primary both mattered in an election year.
Right, even in New York, last week they were saying that New York hasn't mattered in years and finally mattered. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's a pretty cool, interesting year.
Yeah, it is.
We're developing a hell of a lot of hatred for one another. So
isn't that crazy?
And ain't that America for you and me?
And that's sad because I look and I often take Bernie Sanders supporters to task on this because.
Thank you.
Yes, because
they're just assholes.
They are. It's terrible.
I don't mean, of course, there are some Hillary supporters who are assholes because it just stands to reason there would be. But the percentage per capita is much higher on the Bernie bro side.
In the Bernie bros, they are obviously very anti-Trump. And I can understand why somebody, Trump does say things that are outlandish and his supporters do things that are insane. But the Bernie people in their fight against hatred and everything else, all they do is use hatred as a tool to combat it. And I'm just like, it blows my mind. I'm thinking, how do you preach this message of anti-hate and coming together and equality using hatred as a tool to accomplish that objective?
And they post the most vicious things on social media on a regular basis. I saw one the other day, I hope Hillary feels the burn in her vagina. And I thought, this woman's been married to Bill Clinton. She's surely felt the burn in her vagina once or twice before she got to the drugstore.
Yes.
So. And you'll be hearing that worn out material at the next 2 shows.
Yeah, so come check it out.
You're right.
But that's good. But yeah, it blows my mind. And they just, and the things that they say, they take everything out of context too. It just drives me nuts. Like you look at some of the things that Trump has said, and he has said some very outlandish things, but they create things. They make things up. Hasn't he said enough that you could use that you don't have to invent things or completely twist what he says into something else? And I often find myself on this show defending Donald Trump, not because I like him, but because the things that are said about him are just completely inaccurate. And there's more than enough to say.
No, you're right. There's more than enough probably shitty things about everybody that you can be accurate and effective in your criticism, I suppose. Yeah,
exactly. But people just like to go crazy, and it's just I don't know. So that's one of the things I like to talk about on this show is just kind of the perspective and the take that people give on a lot of these political issues.
I can't believe on the Democratic side how the Bernie bros are starting to grasp reality. So it's starting to occur to them that the inevitable is going to happen. And God bless him, he's going to lose. Somebody's got to lose.
Sure,
Got to pick one. Hillary lost last time. So, but the inability to grasp that reality still seems thick in the air. Like they can't literally, like it's over. It's pretty much over now. It's not technically over now, but virtually it's over. Especially after Pennsylvania and
I'm glad to see that she's winning through actual delegates, because that's one of the things that...
She stole all the delegates.
Yeah, right.
She stole every fucking one of them.
I know. I get into fights with people all the time. Bernie should win this. Well, no, he shouldn't if he didn't get enough votes to win the delegates to give himself the nomination.
Yeah.
Now, they would have a case if he won the delegate count, but she was pushed over the edge through super delegates. And
well, I don't think so, just because...
You don't think so?
It is unfair. The deck is stacked, but that's the fucking game.
Yeah.
It's like, here's the game. We're giving this person an advantage, but if you want to play and try to beat her, knock yourself out. And if you don't want to play, then don't play the game.
Isn't that kind of snubbing your own electorate, your own base?
Yes.
Like I look at the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, and that's the one thing. The Democratic Party snubs their base. They don't have respect for their voters, but the Republicans flaunt that. It's almost like they're proud of their lack of respect for their own electorate.
I like that. That's a good analysis. Yes, I totally agree with you, but that is the game. And it's like joining the Kiwanis Club. And if the Kiwanis Club says you have to wear funny hats, then you have to wear funny hats because it's their fucking club.
True. Yeah.
I agree with you that it's not fair, and it's not right from a purely American political democratic perspective. But the government isn't running the elections. That's the weird part. The
parties
they're very public, but they're private as well. And that you have to join them, and you don't have to join them.
Yeah,
you don't have to join the Kiwanis. You don't have to
run independent or form another party.
And Hillary had the deck stacked in her favor in 2008, and Obama ended up winning. So it is possible, even though you're going to be the underdog running against the establishment people, it's possible to beat him. And look at Trump. He wasn't anything. He has nothing to do with anything. And then,
what do you think will happen if they steal the nomination from Trump? Because there's actually, I read an interesting editorial where this guy, and I think it was USA Today, I don't have it in front of me, but he basically laid out a situation where he feels that John Kasich is going to come away with the nomination and Rubio as his vice president and just shut the door on everybody who's ahead.
I don't want no Kasich because I don't want no Yinzer in the White House. Mm-hmm. He's going to have cookie tables at all state dinners and freedom fries and all sandwiches.
That's true.
I'm just stealing that from Kren. Anybody who does a Pittsburgh accent owes Kren a nickel.
That's true.
I think it was Randy Bauman who once said that, and I totally agree. I don't know what's going to happen with that, and I don't know what I want to happen, but I really don't want Kasich to get the nomination because I'm a Hillary
you're a
person.
Hillary person so.
And these polls show he could win, and he did. Compared to them, he looks so fucking sane because they're all so fucking nuts that I get it. You know what I mean? Like, that one over there ain't crazy.
I'm on the opposite side of the fence, but here's where I'm in a weird situation because I always, and maybe this is a fault of mine, but I always put my values above what I actually want to see happen.
You must be a Bernie bro.
No, I'm not, but I could be. But for example, like Kasich is the guy that I like, and I know, obviously you just said you're a Hillary person, so he's the one person who could beat her, but at the same time, I don't want him to win, because if he does win, that means the Republicans have just snubbed their nose at the voters, and morally, I can't accept that. I don't like that idea that you have party bosses going in and saying, oh, this is who you want? Tough shit. We like this guy instead. That rubs me the wrong way. To me, that's very I don't want to say anti-American, but that
No, I agree. It's anti-democratic. I think Trump's probably going to get enough delegates that he'll get the 1,237 on the first ballot.
So?
I could be wrong about that, yeah. I just say things like that to look prescient in case it comes true. You know what I mean? Nobody will remember that I said it if it ends up being wrong. But I think there will be riots in the streets like Trump says, because Trump will make sure there are riots in the streets.
But isn't that almost justified in a way? I mean, not that you want violence, but hell, if you decide you want this guy to represent you and you have a few party elites, those basically 1%ers that Bernie is always talking about, saying, oh, too bad, you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
You know, you're not intelligent enough to come up with your own candidate. We're going to pick one for you.
I guess the opposite argument is, even though I do agree with you to an extent, those are the rules of the game. If he doesn't get 1,237 delegates, then they're free. The delegates can vote for whoever the hell they want to.
I think this will.
So once again, that's the game. So if you don't want to play, don't join the contest.
And I think this election will really determine the future of the Republican Party, whether it's going to go the way of the Whigs or if it's going to be a mainstay in the American...
That's why I want Trump, because I really do think, despite the fact that he's immensely popular with millions of people, he'll get his ass kicked and they might lose the Senate.
I think you're probably right.
I mean, that's just conventional wisdom according to polls, and that could all change. And maybe it's true that he's attracting so many new people that we're all going to be surprised in fucking President Trump. Oh my God, shoot me now.
Well, the thing with Trump that I will say, and this is what I think goes in his favor, and why I do think he would lose in a match against Hillary, but the one thing that he has going for him is nothing can break him. And I compare him to Bill Clinton in that fact, where Bill Clinton gets a blowjob in the Oval Office and people say, oh, that's just Bill. There's nothing you could say about Trump that's going to surprise anyone. There's no scandal that's going to come out about Trump that's going to...
No, they might be able, if they both go really, really negative, obviously you can, whether there's anything to emails or any of the other so-called Hillary scandals, you can beat him to death whether they're true or not, just like people are doing now, like you were saying earlier. Mm-hmm. They might be able to put a few holes in Trump in that he's an effective businessman. Everybody already knows he's had to declare bankruptcy 4 times, but they might examine that more thoroughly. He's hired illegal aliens to build his hotels, yet he's Mr. Build the Wall. There's a lot of...
Maybe he'll hire the illegals to build the wall.
There you go.
Maybe that's how Mexico's going to pay for it.
It's an awesome idea, yeah. I think they're going to need a wall to keep people from escaping if Trump is elected president. So anyway, I think there's enough hypocrisy that you could poke a few holes in Donald Trump. But I do agree with you. And people don't seem to care who are Trump fans. Yeah. They see the hypocrisy. They see him making fun of Megyn Kelly's menstrual cycle, and they don't fucking care. Well, that's just him, you know.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's my point, is that everyone will just view it as that's just him. And I think his support just comes from people hating the establishment. And honestly, and I've said this, I'm on record as saying this, and you're right, this is the game that they have chosen to play, but I'm on record as saying I will never vote Republican again if they steal an election, because I guess
awesome.
I
support that plan.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. Yeah, and I'm somebody who, I used to be the executive director of Westmoreland County, the Westmoreland County Republican Party, and I've been involved. I put the first Republican in office in the 56th district.
Who's that?
That's George Dunbar.
Oh, okay.
So, I was instrumental in putting him in place and people like that. So I have a long, history with the Republican Party, but this just rubs me so wrong. And whether it's the rules or not, I just cannot.
No, I don't blame
that.
you. It sucks if he gets the most delegates.
And I
Why
don't
wouldn't
even
you
like
give it to him anyway?
Yeah, I don't even like him.
Right,
but it's just
right.
it's just a matter of principle that
I think I've become much too pragmatic in my old age. Fuck principle. I think Hillary is competent. That's the main reason I want her.
See, I don't. That's my problem.
But how could she? But she's got the best resume of everybody. I think.
But okay, I worked for the State House of Representatives after I got Georgia and I got hired. I would have been fired for that job if I didn't use the freaking House email. That to me is just common sense.
So did Colin Powell.
But that doesn't make that right
Condi
either.
Rice. I don't think.
And I don't necessarily think they should go to jail. But to me, it's a competency issue. How do you not know that that's not okay?
But apparently it is okay. It's not illegal. She's not being arrested. She's not being
whether
indicted.
it's illegal or not, it's definitely questionable.
I guess so, except that if nothing bad happened, then no state secrets were compromised. To me, it's a big nothing burger.
I guess. I just, I was dealing with PennDOT issues and property
I'm
tax
annoyed.
rebates.
I'm annoyed that the rollout of Obamacare sucked because incompetent people fucked up the website.
Yeah.
But, people are human and they fuck up sometimes. And in the end, they fixed it. It was shitty for some people. It's great for other people. I guess what I'm trying to say is people are going to make some mistakes.
Yeah, I suppose.
If she gets, I know she voted for the Iraq War, but it was actually Bush. Like if you actually pull the trigger to launch the Iraq War, that's a mistake I can't forgive.
Yeah.
Her using private email servers, I'm not crazy about it, but I don't know.
Yeah, it just makes me.
And if you're a Clinton, you're going to be paranoid. Although that might be more reason. I don't know. Maybe she thought the private server was less
more secure,
prone to compromise. Right.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Which may have been a bad judgment. I don't know, but
Yeah, that's a possibility. I just look at it in the business world,
right,
or even in the political world. If it's an underling who were to do the same thing, they would have been fired and out of the job.
But apparently it might have been against policy, but it wasn't against the law. So
yeah, I don't think it was against the law. Yeah,
right.
I don't think that. The people want to see her in jail. I'm just like, any other position you get fired from your job, you wouldn't.
Right.
You wouldn't throw. If I sent out an email, my personal email to somebody about their property tax rebate, they're not going to throw me in jail. They're just going to say, "Hey, thanks," but
there's always a double. The boss always gets perks, and there's always a double standard. The boss always gets to get away with murder.
That's true.
I mean, unless it's really murder, and I think it's great that she single-handedly murdered Antonin Scalia. It's good to know the Clinton hit squad
that
is
pillow,
back out there. Exactly. Yeah. I watched her do it with her bare hands. It was great. Strong. She's strong.
Catch more of this. It's going to be good stuff. It's going to be... when is the date for the event?
April 29th, Friday night, 8 o'clock.
Night.
Oaks Theater. The website is theoakstheater.com. Gavin F. Chelsea Wagner, Rob Rogers. Oh, bar opens at 7. That's what I was trying to remember.
That's important. So.
Yes, it is. It's much funnier if you're drunk.
Yes.
It's an old comedy axiom, I think.
I
Sorry,
got drunk before I came in. No. Generational Politics, These Kids Today, a comedy show, Oaks Theater. Check it out. That's John McIntire from KDKA. Up next, we're going to bring in Jaye Cooper. He's going to come back and good stuff with him. We're going to talk about the comedy scene and the comedy community. We're going to stick with our community message today here on River Talk. So that up next. Don't forget, you can catch Bold Nights Out this Wednesday, 7 a.m. here at riversedgepgh.com, powered by NJL WebTech.
Hey, this is Matt Geica, the host of your alternative sports talk program on the River's Edge. It's called Geick's Got Game, and it's every Friday at 7 a.m. I'll give you a peek behind the sports media curtain, zoom out for the big picture, and always obsess over the details of the games, teams, and players we love or love to hate. That's Geick's Got Game, every Friday at 7 on the River's Edge.
That's your thing.
It is.
Smiling. Got Jaye Cooper across the table from me.
I love it.
It's like he is like a professional smiler. He's always on Facebook smiling. And what's the new thing you're trying to start? This new smile?
The smiling revolution.
The smiling revolution.
Yes,
yeah,
people need to smile more, man. There's too much bad things going on in the world. I think people just need to smile.
You think?
I know.
See, I like the frown.
The frown is so bad, especially when the women do it. I hate when women take pictures of themselves and they do not smile.
But don't people make you frown? Just like the dumb people that are out there.
Especially when they type dumb shit. Yeah, I definitely frown at that. I frown at the depressing things they talk about. I frown at their bad grammar, their bad spelling. It's like,
We talked a few weeks ago about there's actually a thing on Facebook that lets you know how intelligent or how stupid your friends are, and it is the translate option. I don't know if you've seen that. There are some people who their English is so poor that it actually requires a translator. Like Facebook has a thing like translate. Can we translate this into something that you can understand? So you know if somebody's English is so bad that Facebook thinks it's a foreign language, that they're maybe swimming in the shallow end of the gene pool.
I bet you that all the Yinzers probably had very low grades on that.
Probably.
I'm guessing because their language is like really bad. I've lived here 23 years and I only use a few of the words they say, like chintzy, nebby.
Crick.
Know.
Do you use crick?
Hell no.
You don't use crick? What the hell's wrong with you?
What's wrong with crick?
Yeah, crick's a good word. What are you trying to say? Are you trying to insult my intelligence because you don't like crick or Tom? Tom uses crick. Tom's
crick.
running the board. He's an intelligent person.
It just sounds so wrong.
But it sounds so right when you're a kid and you go crick walking. Like, that sounds so right.
Are you trying to say that?
See, that almost sounds too close, like crip walking. And you're just throwing gang signs up while you're
trying to say that great Mike Lang is not an intelligent person because he always says Arnold Slick from Turtle Creek. He's a radio legend.
That rhymes, so he got away with that.
He got away with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Stating the obvious, you're a comedian.
I am. Sometimes
you
I
do
forget.
funny things.
I do. I try to. I try to stay relevant.
Try to stay relevant.
Yeah.
What do you have coming up?
Oh my God, there's a couple things going up. Let's see. It's Monday, so let's concentrate on what's coming up. The 30th. Not really something I'm doing. I may be into it. I may get into it because I made the flyer. Spits and Giggles.
That's your thing now, by the way. He's the flyer maker,
I'm
the official flyer maker.
Now, by
Hashtag
default.
Coop Troop. If you need a flyer made, he will do it for free.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that.
Free.
I don't want to do it.
At Coop Troop Comedy, free flyers here. The master
of
the flyers. I may be the master of the Millville Shore. You're the master of, what is it? Adobe Color or what's that program?
Whatever app it is on my phone is whatever.
He's the master of it. Yeah.
I think it's InDesign.
I am the master of, what is this app? Auto Background.
Adobe
sounded so much better. This is so bad.
See, he doesn't even need a computer. He can do it from his phone.
I do it from my phone.
Free posters right here at Coop Troop Comedy. Hashtag Coop Troop. He'll make you a poster for free.
Hashtag
he said that. I did not say that.
I'm
not doing
free.
it.
He loves me to do charity work. Jay is a giving soul. He always is looking to help you out.
I don't do charity. The only time
what are you talking about? You're doing all sorts of free promotions, free posters.
Charity comedy.
His heart swells with kindness.
The only charity I like was this chick who had a 36C. She was very nice. Other than that, I guess it is kind of like charity. But yeah, back to what I was.
See, just like charity, he confirmed it right here. River Talk, you heard it. It's on the recording. It's on the video.
It's bad.
At Coop Troop Comedy. Bad. Hashtag Coop Troop.
Yeah, people are definitely going to come to me now that I actually know what I'm doing now. Before it was just for a hobby, and it was crappy looking flyers and they loved it. But then someone clowned me on my flyer because I always did flyers with black backgrounds and I did feather brush cropping and stuff, so people kept thinking that it was some type of rest in peace thing, like in memory of. So they were clowning me for that. They was like, this looks depressing, these flyers look depressing. Are you guys like, I posted something and I was on the show. And, so I had my picture up there and somebody posted, comment underneath it and said, rest in peace, Jaye Cooper. I'm like, whoa, bitch, I'm not dead.
Wow.
Yeah, they really did say rest in peace to me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, all 5 of us are dead. and come to the viewing. And we're charging $5, even though we're dead. We're charging $5 for people to come. No, but the flyers are a lot better now. I got a much better app, so
hit him up at Coop Troop Comedy.
Yeah. So okay, so quickly I'll just go through everything. April 30th, the Spits and Giggles at the Compass Club over in the Hill. Is a nice lineup of comedians for that one. I don't have time to name them all. Then we also have another Spits and Giggles, which will be coming up on the 6th of May. And hopefully y'all can come up to that one, man. That's going to be a real one. That's going to be a good one. And then, of course, the Improv. Going back to the Improv on May 16th, me and Howie and a couple of my comrades, we're all going to come out there and stuff. So if you're ever in the Homestead area, Munhall or West Mifflin or whatever, man, come on through, check us out. We're going to give you the best 5 minutes you've ever seen, because that's all they give us is 5 minutes to perform.
Really?
But
wow.
Yeah, but I make it count though, because my jokes is like one after the other, so I be crushing it. And there is talk of something going on in Youngstown. We don't have a date yet, but I'll be letting Brian know, and I'll let River Talk know and everything. I'll post it online. They're probably going to make me make the flyer for that, too. So
at Coop Troop Comedy, hashtag Coop Troop, free flyers for you.
Yeah,
for
so
me,
just
free flyers for all.
Yeah, so just keep in touch with that and everything. I'll let y'all know.
So you're a comedian. Is there a community in the comedy world? Is there a community similar to the one I described at Liveberg Studio?
Yeah, you could say that. I wouldn't say that the community is. Well, let's just say it this way: our community is very diverse.
Yes, yeah,
yeah. It's broken up. Fair. The way you said community, it sounds a lot better than saying clique. So, because that's basically what it is. But yeah, let's go with community.
Not always. I think there's a difference between a community and a clique, because a clique is not welcoming to outsiders.
No, it is not.
It is, and it's not. I don't even want to get into that. I don't even want to get into that, because that's gonna be bad. I don't want to talk bad about my comrades. I don't want to do that, because I'm trying to get in with them, so I can't do that. But they do get together and do a lot of things together and stuff. And I'm slowly working my way into doing the things with them, because for those who don't know, I'm a little antisocial, so it's kind of hard for me to reach out to people sometimes, and plus I have sort of a chip on my shoulder, a little ego, I'm expecting people to just ask me like I'm this big star and stuff. Like,
well,
hey,
you are. I mean, you're on the radio once a month.
Damn right. That's what I'm saying, man. I'm on the freaking River Talk, man. Y'all need to be hitting me up and stuff, man. You heard him give out my doggone hashtag and my Twitter and everything.
See, he's a big shot celebrity, but he's still willing to make free posters for you.
Right. And almost practically doing free shows too. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think you made an interesting point. I feel in the comedy scene, and this is just my observations, it is more cliquish than community, and I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I mean, it's obviously I think a community is better, but I'm not saying it as a negative, but it seems like it's not cliquish in the fact that they're unwelcoming to other people, but just in the comedy world, they seem to group up together.
They do.
In certain ways. Like people like to perform together. So it's not a clique where it's like they're trying to exclude people, but it's just a matter of people find people they like to work with, people who complement their styles, and they tend to run together.
Right. And you know what? There is absolutely nothing really wrong with that.
No, that's what I mean. It's not a negative thing where it's like, Jake.
Right, because I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, because I pretty much do shows with the same people almost all the time. Howie D. Mack, who I've mentioned many times on the show. We got to get him in here.
We need to get him in here.
We really do need to get him in here. And
he's come back from retirement.
He has. He never really retired. He just, he got fed up one day, and then I had to pressure him to come back. And it took like a month or so, but yeah, he's back. So yeah, I've run with the same people: Howie D. Mack, Christina McNeese, Marcus Make You Laugh. I mean, I usually work with the same 3-4 people all the time and stuff, so I really can't really comment on that. But I want us to all come together.
Don't you think a community would make you guys stronger? Because I feel like there's a lot of great comedy in Pittsburgh.
I agree, yeah. And all these guys, I mean...
I've never seen Don Strange play with Jeremy K would, for example, but here he was at Liveberg Studio.
And see, I don't even know who those guys are. And I
well, that's because you don't listen to the River's Edge Radio Network. What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah. Well, I'm too busy listening to our segments and stuff. But you know what? I will.
That's true. I mean, my voice is very provocative. I can understand why you would want to listen over and over again.
Right, with your voice and my voice together.
Oh, my God, the meeting of the Clash of the Titans here.
With the weather, then we,
Yeah, I can barely contain myself over here.
That's what I'm saying, man. Yeah. Shoot, it's getting like it gets really heated up in here, and I'm not talking about just the lights.
It is hot. I mean, just three
and
sexy
lack of air
people.
Conditioning in here. But.
No, it's the three sexy people huddled around a small table.
Mm-hmm. That's probably why I'm wearing this shirt.
So much sexiness that camera might just break. Speaking of,
I ain't got no money. If it breaks, like I'm letting you know right now.
That's true because he's giving away all these free posters at Hate Troop Comedy.
If it does break, then yes, please send. Well, okay, you want me to do some work? Send money first.
There you go.
None of that PayPal crap either, man. I take cash.
Cash money.
Cold, hard cash.
Damn right, man. Give me some of that Tubman money.
And the weather's not very cold. It's been nice, right?
It has.
What is our weather?
It started off cool this weekend, and it's heating up, and today's going to be quite toasty. So, very summer-like today and sunny. So definitely today is one of those days you want to maybe take a break from the old workplace and spend some time walking out on your lunch break. That would be a great idea to do today. But yeah, very, started off cool, but we're going to heat up quite nicely. High of around 82. So that's pretty fantastic. Pretty summer-like compared to some of the weather we've been experiencing the past couple of weeks. We've had some cool spots, but we've been pretty dry other than this past Friday. So is this dry weather going to continue? It's not. We will be seeing some rain this week. So I know Brian.
Like how much
Brian
rain? Are we talking
me.
like heavy rain? Or are we talking about misty rain? Or
heavier rain. We've got two systems coming through. So 2 cold fronts that will be cooling off a bit, but we're going to remain somewhat in the normal temperatures, maybe just a little bit below. So pretty much 60s this week is going to be cool. the main idea. 60s is too cold for me and too cold for Brian.
Yes.
It was in the 60s Sunday morning. I was wearing a robe.
The furnace comes back on.
Yeah. No, I had a robe and a blanket on, and I was covered with my fake stuffed animal owls around me, keeping me warm. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm wearing a blanket. It's like it's April, but we've had such nice weather, especially for today and part of last week. It feels like summer. I'm expecting it to be summer.
Well, what about the following week? Is there anything in here for the following week?
No, nothing yet. Too soon to tell.
See, I love spring because it makes my job a lot easier because I work outside. So I get to see all the college girls walking up and down the street, man. So to all the Pitt students and the CMU students, I will be watching. And I will be grading you.
Especially if you have short shorts.
Oh, damn right.
Oh, my. Anyway, so back to the weather.
Oh, yeah. Go back to that. Yeah.
Jay's watching college students. I'm like, I'm going to talk about the weather
now. How warm and nice it is.
Right. That's how you can tell if it's nice out.
How short the shorts are getting.
Exactly.
But, so Monday, it's going to be pretty warm still in the 60s, but it's going to be becoming more cloudy as the next front moves in, and that's when Tuesday morning, that's when the rain is going to be starting in the early morning, continuing throughout the day. Our high is only going to be about 70, so cooling down a bit, but it's still pretty nice. Mm-hmm. So rain continuing through the day. That evening, 42 degrees. It's becoming, it's going to stay cloudy in the evening and then become cooler. So that system is going to move off by the time the overnight hours come, and that temperature is going to drop. So Wednesday starting mostly clear and cooler. Definitely going to be feeling cooler like this past Saturday. Not that warm spring air, but kind of that cooler wind that's going to be blowing. It's going to be coming mostly cloudy through the day and the evening as the next front begins to move in, but we won't see anything until that evening. So Wednesday, your high is 63. That evening, a low of 51, becoming cloudy with some rain moving in the overnight hours. And then Thursday, mostly cloudy with rain continuing and then tapering off through the evening as that moves off. Thursday, only high of 66. That evening, only 55. So that cloud cover is going to keep the temperatures warmer, but that's not what we've been used to lately. Friday, mostly cloudy, becoming clear in the evening. High of 62, low of 40. And then for next weekend's outlook, it's becoming mostly sunny skies and cool, with sticking in the normal temperatures through the weekend, with highs in the upper 60s and lows in the low 40s. So it's going to become basically a roller coaster of, sun, clouds, clearing, sun, clouds, rain, clearing, up and down this week, but mostly sticking around in the 60s. We're not going to be seeing that 80-degree temperatures probably till at least next week.
So back to that topsy-turvy Pittsburgh weather again.
Yep, time for spring.
Wearing the big coat one day.
We get that
wearing
tease.
the windbreaker the other day. Wearing rain boots one day. Wearing sneakers the other day.
Yep.
Oh,
we
God.
get that tease on Monday, then it's back to spring as we should be, usual.
Make up your mind, God. What do you want? Come on, man.
Well, hopefully the 80-degree weather comes back for the next weekend, April 5th and 6th, where you can catch us up in front of the studio on North Avenue for Millville May Days. Millville May Days is a great event where you can travel the community of Millville, collect seed packets for your garden, and catch some great deals, hear some great music out in the front of our studio.
Ooh.
Maybe catch an interview on the street, all sorts of good stuff. So be sure to stop down to Millville that day and collect those seeds and enjoy those deals. And also stay tuned, because up next we have Mr. Corey Perrotte. He's going to be in studio across the table from me, and he's going to talk about his career as a music producer and him as a voter in the Grammys. So we've got that up next, and then we're going to end the show on a serious note here on The River's Edge.
Boom. Hey, what's up, y'all? This is comedian Jaye Cooper on the River's Edge Radio Network. And if you're not tuning in to the greatest podcast show in the burg, your ass just might be a hood rat.
Welcome back. Across the table from me, we have Corey Perrotte, who is a producer extraordinaire and a voter in the Grammys, actually. And yeah, it's good stuff. And speaking of our community message that we've been going with today, we're kind of talking about communities and how we can help each other out and how different organizations and different groups will help build each other. You wanted to mention an event that you are hoping to promote.
Yes. So there's a girl who has cystic fibrosis. Her name's Morgan, and there's a hair salon actually called Studio Raw. If you check them out, you can find a lot more information out about it. But basically called Morgan's Army, and the girl, she needs O+ lungs, and basically this girl, if she doesn't get the lungs, she's going to end up dying from cystic fibrosis. So
how old is she?
She's 21, so she's really young. Oh wow. So we're trying to help her out, spread the message. So they're challenging everyone to just share something about it and inform other people about what's going on. If you go to their Facebook page, Studio Raw, you can find more information out about it.
Is it a money thing where they need to raise money, or is it just something where they need to find the right donor, or how? What do they need?
That's a great question. So it's actually not about money. You could donate $1 trillion and it won't change the situation. Yeah. So they're trying to find her a donor, exactly what you said there, to help save her life. Because if she doesn't get the lungs, she's unfortunately going to pass. So we're just spreading the word out there so that the more people that know, the more likely she is to find a donor.
Now, how did you become a voter in the Grammys? How did that transpire?
Sure. So basically, you have to submit your work to get into it. So
okay.
Whenever I think that there's a story that goes before it that helps set it up. Whenever I was in college, I was finishing my music degree, and so that was back in 2012. But I was also double majoring in pharmacy, and so whenever I was in pharmacy school, starting off, organic chemistry. There we go.
I thought you were gonna say, "Oh Canada, oh Canada, free and native land."
Oh man, I messed that one up. But organic chemistry. I was also doing an internship, and so I left class, went to the internship, and I was walking out of the studio whenever Michael Glabicki walked in, who is the lead vocalist for Rusted Root. Mm-hmm. Like quadruple platinum at this point. Send Me On My Way is their big hit that everyone knows for the most part. So I was just walking out while he was walking in, and 6 months later, I was working at a music store, and he walked in, and I was like, this guy looks so familiar.
What are the odds of that too? That you would see him twice? Yeah,
it's not a common thing. And I was just like, I know this guy from somewhere, like, where do I know him from? And as I'm talking to him more, he's like, yeah, I'm going on tour. And I was like, okay, I know who this guy is, kind of clicked there. So as we're talking, he's like, yeah, I need these small speakers to take on tour with me while, I'm writing my record. By the way, like, do you know anyone that does recording? I'm looking for, like, an assistant. And I was like, yeah. Me. So he's like, cool, swapped contact information and showed up. And after I got there the first day, he's like, hey, I need some help with ventilation for my vocal booth. Like, you know how to do that? And, of course, like, me wanted to be like all hungo about it. I was like, yeah, of course, I know how to do that. No idea what I'm doing. So just like sit down in the bathroom. I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom, like pretend you're taking a dump there. And so you pull up on YouTube, how do you build a ventilation system for a studio? And so we go to Home Depot, pick up the parts, put it together. He had me do a couple mic placements for guitar amps, and at the end of the day, he was like, hey, instead of being an assistant, you want to be like the lead engineer beside me on this record. And I was like, hell yeah. So, spent probably about, say, between 3 to 4 months in the studio working on that record. Had all of this equipment under the sun that you could ever imagine. They're sponsored by, at the time at least, Telefunken and Rupert Neve microphones, like some of the most expensive stuff. Like, I think we used one of the microphones that the Beatles actually, like, physically used. Wow. That exact one. Like, Telefunken sent us this box that was just enormous. It was like 5x5, just wrapped in like the softest stuff for shipping, so that make sure this microphone didn't get damaged. And that was really cool.
So you're saying history. You had better equipment than a 6-channel Behringer and a Mac Mini?
Slightly better, yes. Yeah, we had probably like $500,000 worth of gear that we were working with. Wow. Which is like just every engineer's dream. It's like, going to Toys R Us as a 6-year-old, but now you're in your 20s and playing with cooler stuff. But that was really the project that got me, though, into being a voting member. So they were like, hey, you have to submit, this criteria and such. So I submitted just my Rusted Root stuff, and they're like, that's not good enough. And I was like, wow. I was like, these guys, they need a lot. So I submitted more stuff a second time, and they're like, we still need more. And I was like, geez. So I just took my whole portfolio and gave it to them, and they're like, welcome to the club, So I do the voting, which is pretty cool. You get invited every year to the Grammys as well, and that was you had Oliver Dugas on your show.
Yes, we talked about that. Yeah.
So I took him with me. He's a good friend from college, and 2 other friends. One of my friends who's a pharmacist, and another one who's a school counselor. Very mixed type of group. We just went out, had a great time. It was a pretty life-changing event, I'd say.
I'm sure. Now, how many Grammys have you voted on? Is that the first one you voted on, or have you voted on other ones? How many years have you been a voting member?
Sure. 2 years. 2 years. I've been a voting member. So right after I recorded Rusted Root, I didn't really think about, becoming a voting member.
Sure.
And it's just one of those things, like, how can you get more involved in your industry, but in a way that, really takes it to that next level. And so one day I was watching the Grammys one year, and I was like, I wonder how you become a voting member. And, you're like, go on Google, and you're like, how to become a voting member, that sort of thing. So I ended up going online and figuring that out, and that's whenever I started the application process. And so the last year was the first year that I voted, and then this year was the first year that I went. So I'm looking to go every year because it's just so inspiring to go.
Do you always stay a voting member, or is there a term limit that they have for that? Or
yeah, there is a term limit. So whenever it's like I can't remember exactly. It's like every 5 years, you just have to submit more work to show that you're still active in the industry. I mean, I'm always active in the industry, so that's not, an issue for me. But some people, they eventually just kind of drop off, go away from music or, something else. But yeah, so I have a few years before I have to resubmit. So
yeah, I know you're active because you just did the Cats in Congress. CD. They were on our show before their CD release party, so that was cool. We have them streaming on the River's Edge radio network 24 hours a day, which you can listen to on TuneIn Radio, by the way. Just search local Pittsburgh.
Yeah, definitely. Cats in Congress, that was a cool project. There's a lot of things people don't realize. We actually recorded that record twice. So the first time around, they had a different bass player, and it was their first time coming into a studio. And so they just, they didn't know exactly what to expect, I think. And, I was talking to Billy because he's kind of, their leader of their group. And I was like, hey, man, these are some things I'm thinking. And they, kind of cut some corners at first. And then after the process was done, Billy came back up to me and he was like, I think that, I realize after going through this process once what it really takes to make a professional record. And so he decided to come back in. And during that time, I also got another partner in on my studio. By the way, our studio's name, I didn't mention that. We just came up with it this past week.
So breaking news.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Being right on the river's edge, not seen before, footage stuff. But so it is called Antimatter Sound. And we got the name. We do a lot of metal. Cats in Congress is a little different.
We were just at the Heavy Metal Manescent concert. We were
I heard you guys talking about that while I was waiting. That's pretty cool. We do a lot of metal. I've done probably.
Who have you done locally?
It's been a while since I've been in the metal scene, because Pittsburgh first started off whenever I was recording. It was really heavily populated with metal. And it kind of started transitioning into the indie genre.
Yes.
And there's a lot of EDM right now, but metal's kind of coming back. I don't want to say coming back. It never went away, but it's
becoming more prominent again.
Yeah, and I think just over the last year that started really happening again. And so I haven't recorded a metal band in probably the last 2 years, because I've been focusing mostly on the indie bands. But now with the guy that I'm working with, Brad Bernazzi, he's in Arcane Haven, if you're familiar with that.
I am, yes.
Band. Okay. And they're they're like, hey, we know all the metal bands, so they're gonna start flooding in again, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I'd say back in the day, we recorded a band called Signal the Skies. They turned into a band. I believe the name was Macian. They parted ways probably a year or so ago.
Okay.
But whenever we recorded them, the producer for Reliant K actually picked them up, which was pretty cool. So it was 1 week they got out of the studio, and a guy found him on whatever it was, MySpace or Facebook, and gave him a ring, was like, hey, why don't you guys come in next week and we'll drop a single. So that was pretty cool. Recorded a band called Bought in Blood. They had a pretty significant thing back in MySpace days. They were a Christian metal band, and when they released their demo with us, they had exactly 6,666 plays in their first week.
So, how does that even work? How are you a Christian metal band? Because isn't metal always about Satan and everything else?
I think that's a huge misconception with a lot of people. Before their shows, they pray with the crowd.
Yeah.
They'll do a prayer, and just the message that they have in their lyrics, even though it's all growly and such. They're actually talking a lot about the Bible and just redeeming yourself and things that are good qualities of individuals, delivering a positive message. But a lot of people think that's all satanic and such. But it's funny, watching a metal band that come in the studio and the guy's doing like these heavy vocals or heavy guitar riffs, and then he's chilling on the couch reading the Bible, or you're just like, it doesn't, I know exactly what you're saying. It just doesn't seem like they go hand in hand, but
yeah, that's cool. We're here with Corey Perrotte, who is a producer here in the Pittsburgh area and also a voting member in the Grammys. Really cool guy. You're interested in pharmacy as well. How do the two connect? Are you inspired by? Do you take any drugs as a pharmacy person to inspire you to do great producing work?
That's kind of funny. One of my recording teachers, he would always make fun of me for that. He would say, "Hey, you're gonna have two types of clients. Your clients in the studio and your clients in the studio. You're gonna be making drugs for them." I've decided to go separate ways with pharmacy. Just once I recorded Rusted Root and started getting into the Grammys, they're two very different paths, and both of them are extremely demanding. So,
yeah, I would imagine.
Going through, I finished pre-pharmacy at Duquesne. So there's two sections: pre-pharmacy and then a professional phase. And I decided not to go back for the professional phase after that because it just takes too much time. I mean, it's
almost like a doctorate, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It is a doctorate. So
okay, it is a doctorate.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a federal law that you have to get your doctorate in pharmacy.
Okay. Yeah, I knew it was a very rigorous road, and I don't think a lot of people realize that because people just think of pharmacy as the guy or the lady behind the counter, dishing out the drugs, but there's really a lot more that goes into it.
Yeah, it's just a knowledge thing. It takes so much time to learn all the different information about all the different drugs and their interactions, and
isn't it almost a safeguard as well? It's almost like a safeguard against your doctor. Not that your doctor is trying to harm you, but say the doctor makes a mistake, the pharmacist could catch that, like, oh shit, you shouldn't be taking this,
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially individuals that have really serious health problems, and they need tons of medication, and a doctor's like, well, hey, you have this and this disease, but you have this illness because of it. But maybe because they're prescribing so many different things, they're not thinking about how maybe two of those interact. Or maybe the dosage should be lower or increased on one. That's exactly what the pharmacist is doing, safeguarding against that. I mean, that's what they study the whole time. Where doctors, they study various different things.
Sure.
The drugs along with everything else that goes with being a doctor.
Now, what are you working on now currently? What are you producing now? I know you're working on something with the Dove Wires, who's on our network.
Yeah.
We've had the entire band on before. We've had Oliver on before to talk about your guys' experience at the Grammys. So you're working with them. What else do you have on your plate?
Sure. The Dove Wires definitely is a big one. Before we started, we were talking about how we're just working on the producing aspects of it, and with like choruses, verses, speeds of songs, lengths of songs. And that's really what we're doing right now with the Dove Wires. We have Arcane Haven, Brad's band. That's going to be our first, real metal band that's coming in. And we have one other band that's coming in on the 7th. It was I think it was Brad's ex-roommate. I don't really know all the details of that. We're still working some things out. I just know the guy's name is Jake, but I don't have the band name right now. But yeah, that's going to be pretty cool. We have probably about 10 bands that we've been talking to about coming in. But I've been spending probably the last 3 months just getting the studio in shape, checking different pieces of equipment, calibration of equipment, problems that have arisen, just with syncing different pieces of equipment together, just working out all those kinks. It takes a lot of time, and just going through, updating our website. We took our website down. We're having a new design, new logo, business cards, that whole type of thing. So I'd say in the next month, we're going to definitely start really hitting the recording side hard.
Now, being that you were involved in Rusted Root in their album, I'm sure that makes it easier to attract people. Do you find it, obviously it's easier to find smaller groups that maybe aren't as well known, but do you have larger groups that are interested in your work because of what you've done with them, or
Sure.
What kind of doors has that opened?
Sure. Actually, Liz Berlin, who's in Rusted Root, asked me this same question one day. She was like, "Hey, have things become more attractive, to your studio because you worked with us?" And the answer is yes and no in a way.
Okay.
I was actually just talking to another large engineer. I asked him a question. I was like, "Hey, once you've got your first, large group that came through your studio, how did you keep getting clients and of that caliber?" And he answered back. He's like, "You just have to grow with the bands." Rusted Root, there wasn't really a growth that I could have grown into that quickly. So I think that right now, I've been talking to Brad about this a lot. And one of the things that we're doing is we're just trying to start small first and grow after that. Because Brad and I are, I was working with another guy for about 12 years, and he opened up his own studio. Cool guy, but just decided to go and start his own thing. So Brad and I just started working together. So we're still building our repertoire. So before we go after the larger groups or record labels, we're going to get a couple local bands under our belt, show them what we can do.
In a way, isn't there an advantage to that? Because if one of these local groups ends up making it, you were with them from the beginning, they're going to continue to do business with you, and you can kind of say you were there from the beginning and you helped create what they've become. Isn't there something to be said for that as well?
Yeah, definitely. And that's definitely the direction that we're trying to take, not just, record just any band just because, we're a studio, but we want to take people that have potential to go places. The Dove Wires, they're definitely on that track. They're in the mindset of this is what we want to do, and so it helps us help them grow because they actually want to take that initiative and next direction and step. That's a huge part of, being an engineer in the studio and producer. Find those groups that really want to take that next step because you can do a lot with them.
Now, I have to ask, being that you've named the company Antimatter, are you a Star Trek fan?
No.
You're not. Okay. Are you familiar with Antimatter in Star Trek? That's one of the things.
Honestly, no.
Here, I thought you were a Trekkie. I thought maybe we were on the same wavelength, and no, not at all.
Yeah, no, not a Star Trek guy. I mean, not that I hate the Star Trek people or anything like that. So if you guys are, don't kick me out of the studio.
He says that because he's across the table from me, but ask him outside and you hear a completely different story.
Yeah, exactly. Am I talking? There we go. Yeah, I was talking weird, but Antimatter Sound is we kind of came up with the name for it because we were like, oh, let's think of something metal. We're like dark matter, dark this, and then Brad was like, what about the word anti? And I was like, okay. I was like, how about Antimatter Sound? And he was like, he just stood there, he had that thing like, I'm trying to find a reason not to like it, and I can't. So I think that we should go with it. Nice. So we end up going with that. And one of the things about like the name and like our style, there's definitely different ways to record and engineer things and produce things, and we definitely want to take an opposite type of approach, and that's kind of what Antimatter is like. It's an opposite, or something similar to that. Like there's dark matter, antimatter, regular matter.
Can you elaborate on that? You want to do things differently as far as you don't want to be
the sound
niche, or okay, so you want the sound to be different. Is it basically you're looking to be maybe more creative to give more options to people, or is it something where you don't want to be set in a mold? Is there like a certain mold to producing that you can fall in?
Sure. So there's two different types of ways that I feel like you can record something with a very clean and natural type of sound, and something with a colored type of sound. So something where you run it through a piece of equipment that gives some type of character to it that the sound wouldn't have unless it did go through there.
Okay.
And there are other studios in the area that have pieces of equipment that have, I'd say, just a totally natural, clean type of sound. So they want everything just to be like what it is in the room. That's the only way we want it. And that works great for some genres, especially jazz. Jazz, some genres of rock. But with what we're doing, we want to give a different type of sound. The equipment that we have in the studio, especially one of my favorite pieces like ever. I just bought what's called a Shadow Hills Industries mastering compressor, and it just it looks awesome. Like you look at it and you're like, don't know what it does, but I want it, And so that thing, it just gives a sound that studios, you can't really get that sound anywhere else.
Okay.
And there's a limited amount of them made, and I'd probably say about 600 in the world.
Wow.
So it's
so it kind of makes it kind of creates a unique option that you can give people.
Yeah, so it's definitely a unique option, and a unique sound, because you can't just go anywhere and get that. And I have other pieces of equipment. There's I have one that's serial number 64. Like things that are. There's not a whole lot of them out there, so you have to like really find a place that can get that type of sound. Just the microphone selection that we have too, designed more for that metal type of environment. You can go to a great studio, but not necessarily get the type of sound you want, because they're not gearing it towards that type of sound that you're looking for. So that's what we're doing. And it's a little bit more unique because we want that colored sound, something that just has a different unique character, that it's like, okay, you can only get that antimatter sound like there.
Yes, there.
So.
Now, where can people find you if they want to look you up for business or just find out what you're working on?
Sure. So we don't have our website up yet, because we're just finishing our logo design, those sorts of things, like I was stating. But really just hitting me personally up on Facebook. That's how I do everything right now.
Okay.
So you can just look up Corey Perrotte on Facebook, and that's Perrotte. Figure out to spell that out. That's not the easiest one to spell on your own. But so yeah, just a lot of times just hit me up on Facebook. That's how I do everything in terms of working with artists, and it just makes it easy. Everyone has Facebook, basically. So
yeah, makes it nice and easy. I agree. We do a lot of stuff on Facebook as well. So
yeah, that's how we communicated. So
that's right.
Makes it definitely easy for everyone.
All right, Corey, thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Brian.
Corey Perrotte, you can check him out on Facebook. If you're friends with me, we're friends, so you can look us up that way. But yeah, good stuff from him. Up next, we're going to end the show on a serious note. You're listening to The River's Edge.
Get your weekly weather forecast every Monday morning on River Talk at 6 a.m. with me, meteorologist Heather Nevills, broadcasting from Millville Studios on the River's Edge Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. Good stuff from Corey Perrotte. I want to end the show on a serious note, and I'm interested to hear what you guys think. There are people in Pittsburgh, and I think it's a Pittsburgh thing. I haven't been to many other major cities, but people in Pittsburgh get lost in the middle of the street. It's unbelievable. You're driving, and all of a sudden you see somebody giving you this stupid look. What? Like, I don't know what's going on. And it's like they're literally lost. It's like they want to cross the street, but they're not sure if they want to, or they forget where they're going. And they literally like take 2 steps into the middle of the street, just enough to distract drivers, just enough to impede traffic. And it's like they're completely lost. They look dumbfounded. They have like a glaze across their face, their eyes.
Like you just described 1/3 of Pittsburgh.
Have you experienced that?
All the time. My God.
I just want to run them off the road. When does Darwin's theory come into effect? Survival of the fittest. If you're too stupid to stand on the sidewalk or cross the street, one or the other. I can even understand somebody who walks out in the middle of traffic. At least they have a fucking objective.
They're decisive.
Yes, I can appreciate decisiveness, but I can't appreciate the glaze over your eyes, and you're just like literally, it's like they're like almost waving. It's almost like I don't know how to describe it. Besides like a glaze, it's almost like they're on something. Maybe they are on something. Maybe they're on drugs. I don't know.
Could be.
Mostly the ones I see, because I work in Oakland, and there's hospitals everywhere and stuff, so the majority, I like to think that they're probably patients that are doped up on something,
It's just unbelievable. And then you see, like, a lot of times it's a crazy old lady, too. She's just, like the hunchback, the arms and the shoulders are up, and she's, like...
I think I know her.
Toothless looking, like...
I think I know her. I think I know who you're talking about.
I think there's one in every neighborhood.
Or multiple ones. But, I mean, I don't see this. Like, I grew up in Westmoreland County. You didn't have people just stumbling. And literally, it's a stumble. It's not like they're even walking into the road. It's like they stumble into the road, like, huh? Huh?
She sounds very familiar. Was she wearing a hospital gown with her ass hanging out?
There's probably one like that, but yeah, not this one, though. You see it downtown all the time. I don't know. It just bothers me.
I see it all the time, man. It's become a part of Pittsburgh. Actually, I'm used to that. I mean, that's just part of the people, isn't it? People that just like to wander, especially on the corners of. I mean, I don't want to give away exactly where I'm going to if I mention the intersection. The intersection between McKee Avenue and Fifth Avenue in Oakland. I mean, there's accidents all the time on that street, whether it's somebody who's crossing a crosswalk that isn't really a crosswalk, but they just want to run across. They're on their phone, they're listening to their music, they ain't paying attention, and they're getting hit.
Kind of like this. On my phone, not paying attention to you.
Yeah, pretty much like that. Face talking, texting, stuff like that.
Face talking while driving.
Yeah,
we talked about this earlier.
Yeah, they're gonna make that one a law soon.
Yep. Yeah. No walking and texting.
No, well,
that should be a law.
That one and face talking.
Face talking.
Yeah.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. But I want to thank Corey Perrotte. I want to thank Jaye Cooper across the table from me. I want to thank John McIntire of KDKA. On behalf of Heather Nevills, Tom Benoit, myself, Brian Crawford, I'm reminding you to check out An Evening with PodCamp, Thursday, May 12th, where I will be on a panel with Jim Krenn and Professor Buzzkill talking about the state of podcasting. That's all for now. I'm Brian Crawford. You're listening to River Talk. Check out Funny Money. It's Thursday mornings, 7 a.m. on the River's Edge Radio Network.